Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text number 4. Ekadasura Rajputram Ankam Aropya Pandava Papracha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saruyad Bhavan Ekadsura Rajput Ekadasura Rajputram Ankam Aropya Pandava Papracha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saru Yad Bhavan. Ekadaratsura Putram Ankam Aropya Pandava Papracha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saru Yad Bhavan. Katsura Ratputram Ankam Aropya Pandava Papracha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saru Yad Bhavan. Ekadasura Ratputram Ankam Aropya Pandava Prapacha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saru Yad Bhavan. Ekadasura Ratputram Ankam Aropya Pandava Prapacha Katyatam Vatsa Manite Saru Yad Bhavan. Ekada. Once upon a time. We've heard the word Ekada before? Kadashi, yes. You heard of Kadashi? What does Kadashi mean?
Once every 10 days.
No. What is it? How many days is Ekadasi? How much is Dasi?
10.
Yeah. And Eka?
1.
So, the 11th day. Ekadasi, no. Ekada, once upon a time. Asura Rat. So what does that mean? It means the Asura who's a rat. That's the real meaning. Asuras are rats. See, they even knew English back then. Asurat, the emperor of the Asuras. Putram, his son. Ankam, on the lap. Aropya, placing. Pandava, Amara Yudhisthira. Papracha, inquired. Katyatam, let it be told. Vatsa, my dearest son. What does Vatsa actually mean? What's that? A calf, yes, a little calf. Manyate, considers. Sadhu, the best. Yat, that which. Bhavan, your good self. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear King Yudhisthira, once upon a time, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, took his son Prahlad on his lap and very affectionately inquired, "My dear son, please let me know what you think is the best of all subjects you have studied from your teachers." Purport. Hiranyakashipu did not ask his young son anything that would be very difficult for him to answer. Instead, he gave the boy a chance to speak plainly about whatever he thought might be best. Prahlad Maharaj, of course, being a perfect devotee, knew everything and could say what the best part of life is. In the Vedas, it is said, Yasmin Vigate Sarvam Eva Vigatam Bhavati. If one properly understands God, he can understand any subject matter very nicely. Sometimes we have to challenge big scientists and philosophers, but by the grace of Krishna, we emerge successful. It is impossible, practically speaking, for ordinary men to challenge scientists or philosophers concerning genuine knowledge. But a devotee can challenge them because the best of everything is known to a devotee by the grace of Krishna. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10:11, Tesham eva nukampartam ahamagyana jam tamaha nasham yam yatma bhavashto sto jnanadipena bhashvataha. Krishna is situated in the core of everyone's heart as the super soul, dissipates all ignorance from the heart of a devotee. As a special favor, he enlightens the devotee with all knowledge by putting before him the torch of light. Prahlad Maharaj therefore knew the best of knowledge, and when his father inquired from him, Prahlad gave him that knowledge. Prahlad Maharaj was able to solve the most difficult problems because of advanced Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he replied as follows. You have to come back tomorrow to find out how he replied. Ekadasura ratpat putram ankamaropya pandava papracha katyatam vatsa manyate sadhu yadbhavan. My dear King Yudhisthira, once upon a time, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, took his son Prahlad on his lap and very affectionately inquired, "My dear son, please let me know what you think is the best of all the subjects you have studied from your teachers." Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatundeve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shrindivadi Paskadyade Satarane Yomam evam samudo janati purushottama sasarvavit bhajante mam sarvabhavena bharata. Anyone who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is said to be the knower of everything and therefore engages himself in full devotional service. O son of Bharata. Iti goyatamam shastram idam yuktva mayanaga etam budva buddhimatsyat kritascha bharata. That this is the most confidential part of all the Vedic literature, that anyone who knows this will become wise and his endeavors will know perfection. So-called knowledge in the material world is generally just an unnecessary complication of something that's simple. People think advancement of knowledge is to make everything more complicated, but actually advancement of knowledge is to understand things. When one understands things, then everything becomes simple. For instance, a child may watch his father driving a car and think he has some mystic power because he can't understand how it's going on. But when one grows up and learns the art of driving a car, then it's mechanical after some time. It's done practically automatically. Similarly, if one does not understand how things are going on, everything appears to be very complicated. But when one understands everything is going on by and through Krishna's energies, therefore everything becomes simpler. For one who's actually aware of Krishna, then naturally he's aware of, as it says here, how everything else is going on, because he understands it's going on by Krishna's arrangement. Now the details of etc. are probably known also, because as below, so as above, so as below also. So although everything seems complicated, but everything is working. Parasya Shaktir Vidaiva Shuyate, Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. Everything is working as a natural sequence. Krishna's energies are working systematically. Therefore, if you want to know one Vedic science, then all the other Vedic sciences are naturally easy to understand also. For instance, we look around the material energy and it looks all so many varieties. But actually, there are varieties, undoubtedly, but basically Krishna says, Bhumir apanalo vayu, kamano buddha evacha, ahankara iti yame, bina prakriti ashita. So this seems rather primitive to most people. Here's supposedly God is speaking, and he's talking about a clump of earth and lighting a fire is what's going on. But because people don't understand, because they simplistically think when Krishna says Bhumir, it means simply a cloud of earth. But actually what it means is that there's one energy, which is Krishna's energy, Brahman, and that energy is transformed and has certain properties when in the transformation process, of one of which is earth. And anything that appears to be solid is actually a transformation of the different elements coming from Brahman. So earth, according to Ayurveda, earth is actually 50% earth and equally amount of water, fire, air, and ether. So that's obvious. It should be obvious, because it's like here, we're hitting this. Can you hear it? Anyone deaf here? So, how is it possible I'm hitting this and what are we getting from it? Sound. Yeah. So sound is carried by what? Yeah, sound and ether. So that means that there must be air in here. And if I touch it, this thing, whatever it's called, then the arm of the chair, then my hand doesn't stick. Why doesn't it stick? Because there's fire in here. There's actually fire. I can't warm my hands very much because the fire in my hands is probably, hopefully, is more than the arm of the chair. But there's actually fire. You throw this into a fire, you get more fire because there's fire in here. And the thing is we can hear sound, we know that there's fire, and although it's not moving very much, but water is keeping the whole thing together. It's water that causes cohesion. If there's no water in here, it just fall apart, it'd just be some dust. That's the proof that we know they never went to the moon. Because they have the audacity to actually have footprints on the moon. Now, if the moon had no atmosphere, you couldn't have any water. And if there's no water on the moon, then you can't have footprints. Because you have to have water in order to get things to condense together, compact together. Take some flour. You can look at the flour, trying to make a chapati for millions of years. You'll never get any dough from just looking at it. You'll have to add something, namely some liquid to it, for it to stick together. So there must be some liquid on the moon, otherwise how can you have footprints? So of course people are, we won't mention, but anyone who has some brains, they can understand that this is not possible. Their story they've taken 1 + 1 and they got 35 or something. And people are supposed to believe that's math. So we know there's air and there's space, because otherwise, if there's no space for this, it couldn't be here. It wouldn't fit in. So there's some space for this to be here. And we know that there's some air, because there's some ether, there's air, because however slowly it's moving, we know that it is moving inside, at least, slowly. And there is fire, and there's water. And of course, we call this earth. Earth because it's solid. And what is the quality of earth that all the elements don't have, the other elements don't have?
Smell.
Yes. Doesn't smell, I don't think the earth smells, but we can smell the earth. Punyam gandham prativyam cha. I'm the smell in the earth. So every element, every single manifestation in this material world has those 5 elements. Even in fire, there's water. Even in fire, there's air. It's just a question of the percentage. Because even a ghost can move things. So although their body is subtle, still they can utilize that subtle body to move things around. So the point is, this material energies, for instance, air is solid energy. So it has certain properties of solidity. Like for instance, because it has smell, it also has taste. So it has the sweet taste. Earth is made of 2 elements. Water and earth. That's called kapha. So because it has water and earth, it has a sweet taste. Kapha has 3 tastes. Let's see. Kapha is earth and water, and pitta is fire and water, and air is ether and air. And they have certain properties. Like sweet taste is sweet earth and water, while bitter is air and ether. And the uncommon taste, which is astringent, is earth and air. It's quite uncommon. Air and earth mixing. While sour is fire and water. And salty is fire and water. While sour is fire and earth. And what do we have left? We have pungent, air and fire. So these are knowing the properties of how the different tastes are, because everything has taste or lack of taste. Everything is being moved by taste in the material world. At least taste is what we get. Like for instance, earth and water is nutritional, because the body is mostly earth and water and builds the body up. While air and ether creates movement, but it's not very nutritional. Most people can't live on air and ether. Try it. Dhruva Maharaj was able to do it, but he was a little more advanced than we are. While fire and water, salty taste, anything that has fire will help digestion. So salt and things that are sour, like lemons, which are also bitter, will help our digestion. The other thing that's fire and water, fire and earth is sour. Fire and air, which is pungent, they will all help at digestion. So this, although it seems very complicated what's going on, but it could be more or less summarized in 5 different energies. Namely, there's energies that transform, which is fire. There's energies that stabilize, which are earth. There's energies that move things around, which are air. So that's how the material universe goes on. Although it seems very complicated, it could be analyzed in basic energies. And when the energies of, for instance, when air flows properly in the body, or when the air assists everything else to flow properly in the body, because when we see the blood flowing in the body, it's flowing because of air. It just wouldn't flow by itself. It flows in the body because of air. Everything moves by air. And when we see that the body is stable, then we know that kapha is stable, or the energy of ojas, subtle energy of stability. And subtle energy of stability in the body is tejas, of fire, or agni. And the subtle stability of air is prana. So when the subtle elements are working properly, when prana is flowing in the body, then it gives nutrition to the cells. And then the cells can grow and reproduce, and the excess things that are the toxins that for the waste products can be eliminated from the body. So for the health of the body, the most important thing is unobstructed air, or prana. Air, when we say air, air can move things, but it's giving the energy of prana to the cells and to the different parts of the body. And what obstructs everything is that indigestion. When we eat something and it's not digested, then it blocks the channels, and therefore the prana, the air in the body won't flow, and therefore the cells don't get nutrition, and the toxins from the byproducts of digestion can't be eliminated, and therefore one becomes toxic. And the cells die due to lack of nutrition, and the toxins that they produce from their death and the lack of elimination of the toxins will toxify the other cells in the body, and then et cetera, et cetera. Then there's no upwards, because the body is working by different layers called dhatus, from the lymph to the blood to the rakta. Let's see, first one is called rasa, rakta, mansa, to the muscle, to the fat, medas, to the medya, to the bone marrow, to the asti, to the bone, to sukra, which is a reproductive system, to ojas, the effulgence, the energy of, well, ojas is really energy, real energy. Ojas is the basic principle of the immune system. If there's sufficient ojas, then the effulgence itself protects us from negative vibrations. People's thoughts, people's negative thoughts and things like that, we're protected by the ojas. And if the sukra doesn't produce ojas, or the artava for the female, then the thing is people get easily disturbed. They feel cold, because ojas will also protect the other 2 elements, namely the energy of air, prana, and movement, vitality, plus tejas, which keeps the body warm and comfortable. In any case, it seems very complicated. We're talking about health, but actually it comes down to some basic principles. And if one knows the basic principles, then one can understand everything else about health. And if one doesn't know the basic principles, that one will simply cause difficulty in one's health. For instance, I remember one time I was in South America, And I was traveling quite a bit in South America, Peru, and Bolivia, very high in the air. La Paz is, I think, the highest city, one of the highest cities in the air. It's like, how many meters in a mile? 3,000, something like that. So it's more than a mile in the air, which is quite high. You have to take cocaine leaves. They have a drink which is made of cocaine leaves. It's not intoxicating, but it helps one adjust to the high temperature. So I was traveling around there. And then I got on a plane to come to India. India, from Peru to India is quite a long distance. It's days of traveling. And somehow or another, I got jaundice on the way over to India. And when I was in England, then I noticed my skin turned yellow, and I went to the disease clinic, tropical disease clinic. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't even figure out what kind of jaundice it was. In any case, I asked, what should I eat? They, oh, you could eat anything. Right, I guess they wanted to kill people and get them out of the clinic. Too many. So they have no idea what's the cause of jaundice. Actually, I got the jaundice because I was traveling, and my assistant from Peru, I asked him to make me some sandwiches, and he made me a sandwich which was 2 pieces of bread and pure cheese. Probably the worst diet you could have. You know, traveling on an airplane, just heavy bread and cheese. And then I arrived in Miami, and Dravidabru gave me this subject which was spoiled. And between the two of them, definitely my digestive system got affected. And if you're going to get something that shows that your digestive system is effective, and then you add something that's going to make it more disturbed, then you'll definitely get sick. But anyhow, I went to India, and then I went to Sham Shaki. You know Sham Shaki? His father actually was alive at that time. And then what they do is they take some mango sticks, and they pour water on it, and he pours the water from the mango sticks to sing some mantras, and they beat you with a fan. And in a couple of days, my jaundice went away.
The water becomes yellow.
Yes. You've been there?
Not myself, but all my friends.
Yeah. Harikesh Prabhu was with me also at the time.
There's also the way his son is continuing.
Yeah, I know. At least he didn't die from jaundice. So everything seems very complicated, but actually it's all quite simple. Krishna says, Bhumir apanlo vayu, kamano buddha evacha, ahankara iti yame, bina prakriti ashita. If you believe that, if you understand what he's talking about, then all these sciences, including astrology, vastu, all of them become quite simple. Simpler, at least. I never found them simple, but at least they become much simpler and consistent. And if you don't know the science, then they have millions of branches of just speculation, research, speculation. And practically they know, everything they discover is just usually found out to be wrong. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna. I somehow can't remember. Does Ayurveda discuss the germs or bacteria? Bacteria and...
Yeah, Indragopa, Matavendra, Mahosukar. Yeah, of course it does.
So all religious rules like Hari Bhakti Vilas prescribe washing your hands 16 times and mouth 16 times before and after eating.
Yeah, but not with soap. With earth. Soap will take away the oil from your hands. Soap is not a good thing to utilize. It strips your body of oil. When the oil into the bacteria is actually, most of it is quite helpful for keeping the skin moist. And the oil is essential to protecting the skin and allowing for things like the toxins from your skin to evaporate out of washing your body with soap is like disastrous. Besides that, then you won't, if you wash your body with soap after you go out in the sun, it's the oil in your body that transforms the sunlight into vitamin D, which is an essential element in your body for most of the functions in your body. If you wash your body after you go out in the sun, you strip the oil, and then there you won't, and the sunlight will not transform, the prana from the sun won't transform into vitamin D, and it's going to be very unhealthy. People don't know even the simple things. Whenever they're washing, they think that washing their body with soap will take care of the bacteria and they'll take care of the smell. But actually, if you don't wash your body with soap all the time, then the result is that you won't have any smell, because the oil from your body will protect the skin. And when things are eliminated, the toxins are eliminated, they'll be eliminated much more efficiently. There won't be any bad smell in the body. I think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada never washed his body with soap, at least. I don't even know if he used water. Does that answer your question?
I had another one about pepper and chili and pungent things. So some of them seem to be helpful to some degree to digestion, and then some people hate any pepper and any chili in any form. Would you like to say something about it in terms of Ayurveda, and how does it?
Well, it depends how much fire you don't want to have. You have 4 stages of fire. You have Manda Agni, slow. You have Vishama Agni, which is variable. You have Tiksha Agni, which is very strong. And you have Sama Agni, which is balanced. What you want is Sama Agni. So if you don't have enough fire, then you need fire in the stomach. You need fire to help fire digestion. If you have too much fire, you don't want fire. You want something that will cool the fire. If you have Vishama Agni, you probably have to take something which will regulate the fire. So it becomes stable, not too much sometimes and too little sometimes. And if it's Sama Agni, that's ideal. And you can just take a little of everything. Balanced Ayurvedic diet is a little bit of each element. But too much is not good either. You have too much fire in the stomach, you may eat everything and digest it, but you won't get any nutrition. It'll just burn everything to ashes. You don't want to burn everything to ashes. Yes.
And what is the difference between chilies and black pepper?
One is black and one is red. The redness indicates a greater amount of fire. So, because the fire element is great extent, therefore it's more fiery. And depending upon what kind of chili, some chilies that have more fire than others, but they increase the fire element more in the body than black pepper. Everything has a different degree of combination of the elements. Ginger, for instance, has a combination so that it increases fire, but only slightly in a balanced way. But chilies will increase it greatly. Therefore, it's put into Brahmastra to really increase the fire. But then again, ginger is put in there also so that to not disturb the fire element so much in the body, so you don't get some cramps in the stomach due to the excess fire. Then, of course, you add honey to balance the fire. Honey is a little fiery too. Therefore, it doesn't create more kapha because it has a little bit more fire in it. So you have a combination of things that balance the fire and increase it and eliminate kapha. Yes.
It seems in India they love people a little chubby with some little fat on them.
Yeah, I guess So if you're fat, go to India. You'll be loved. Yeah, here, there it's a sign of opulence. You can eat a lot. You have money, therefore you can eat. And being thin is probably people think you're poor and don't have enough money. Here, everyone has enough to eat. So if you can eat a lot and at the same time be thin, then you're considered to be have mystic power or something. Whereas Prabhupada said about Pishima, his sister, he said that she claims that she's not eating anything. And then Prabhupada said, how can she be so fat? So generally you get fat. If you're kapha, it's easy to get fat, but you have to eat something usually. Or at least, anyhow, it's a science. But they because they don't like to be seen to be poor. Besides that, having a little weight is good for your health. A little extra weight is good for your health, especially if you get sick and you have to fast, then you don't get dehydrated. It's something to work with. Being excessively thin is not very healthy. Yes?
I remember reading, but somehow I cannot find this passage where Srila Prabhupada says that prana is composed of air and he adds, I think, water and ether, but I can't. Do you remember that?
Prana is a subtle element. So prana is as sunlight is prana. It's from sunlight we get prana. Well, there's also, it doesn't mean that prana is just only, but from sunlight we get prana. So within the sunlight there's prana. That's why going out, if you're unhealthy, that's why they say go and worship the sun, because you'll get prana from the sun. And solidified prana is gold. Solidified sunlight is gold. That's why from the sun god you got Shaimataka jewel. He gave the Shaimataka jewel, which gave so many mounds of gold every day by worshiping the Shaimataka jewel. So gold, if you're lacking prana, you can take a little gold and put it in water and boil it. The gold won't disappear, so you don't have to worry about it. But then when you drink the water, you'll get prana, you'll get energy from it. And therefore the most powerful medicines in bhasmas and alchemy are things like makadwaj, where you add mercury in a purified form with gold, because mercury can digest anything. So when you add gold and mercury together in a purified form, then the mercury will, and you take the bhasma, and the mercury will digest the gold and you'll get energy from it immediately. But prana is a subtle form of, we can talk of vayu, of vata. It's a subtle form. It's the essence, like the difference between the container and what's contained. So the container is vata, and what's contained within it is prana. So if you eat something and it has no taste, then you know it has no prana either. And if it has no taste and has no prana, when you eat it, you're going to get sick. Because the body can't figure out how to digest it. It only knows how to digest the different tastes. So it has no taste, it has no idea what it is. And since it has no idea what it is, it can't figure out how to digest it. So it becomes undigested, and you'll block the channels and you'll get sick. Therefore, food should have taste, otherwise it's useless. And if we eat the food and we don't taste it, we'll also get sick. Because the body won't figure out it. Even if it has full of taste, if we don't pay attention to what the taste is, then the brain won't figure out how to digest it. So talking and eating is very bad for the health. Talking and not chewing the food or not paying attention to what the taste is will actually cause indigestion. Anyhow, there's an Ayurveda class. It's free though. On glorification of Krishna. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grandaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.